All right, so what type of voice range do you find the most difficult to produce?
The most difficult for me is always the lower voices because that's so different than my natural speaking voice. Like people are always like, oh wow, Renge must have been hard. And I'm like, it's just me in a booth laughing. Yeah. So yeah, or Mirajane, they're like, oh, Mirajane must have been hard. I'm like, no, most of Mirajane is just me a little higher and sweet.
So that I have to make sure that I warm up and I'm ready to do talk weight on hair.
Like Michiko was one of my favorite roles of all time, but really hard because it takes, like to do that lower register, I have to breathe in a whole lot of air.
So it's real hard when you have a voice like Michiko especially that gives out, it's like a breathy quality to it and real low. So every 5 seconds I'm having to take these deep breaths.
And then you don't want it to sound unnatural because sometimes if your lungs are too full of air, then it sounds like you're holding your breath. So there's all this stuff you have to think about that I'm sure people at home are like, whoa, I thought you just said the words and like went home. There's all this weird stuff to think about, but yeah, the lower voices are definitely the hardest. And what's been hard lately is with the broadcast dubs and the simul dubs and all that stuff. We're literally jumping from booth to booth and you don't always know what you're going in for. So there were days when I would go in for, I'd do all my warm-ups like really low because I knew I was gonna go work on Umi Hebi in Snow White with the red hair. So I'm like, okay,
Pirate Queen, everything is way down in this area, okay, I'm ready to go.
And then afterwards they'd be like, oh yeah, we forgot to tell you, you've also got 30 minutes of show by rock. So then I'd have to go into Caitlin's booth and be like, no, and I'm like, oh my God. So, but there's no way for them to know which, you know, it changes from day to day. It's just a matter of who needs you that week because we only have a week to get it done, really. So yeah, that's the only thing that's been difficult is now when I go to Funimation, it takes me about 30 minutes to warm up because I have to warm up from the bottom to the top because I don't know where in the middle it's gonna be. It's a little crazy, but I like it that way. Keeps me on my toes. Yes?
So what would you say is your most rewarding role that you played?
Ooh, so many. I really love Tomoko in Watsumote. Because that was a role that was so similar to me growing up. I know people meet me at conventions and they're like, you're just so outgoing and crazy and fun. I'm like, I was not always this way. I was very sheltered and quiet and a ballerina who didn't talk to anyone and was very concerned about whatever anybody would say. And my cousins, when I was like 7 or 8 years old, would come up and say hi and I would blush and hide in the corner. Like, they're my cousins. So I understand that whole anxiety and being out in public and agoraphobia and like all of those things I dealt with as a kid. So to me, being where I am now in theater really helped me overcome a lot of that stuff. Even though it's a weird take on it, it felt so therapeutic for me to be like, hey, I can revisit that and at the same time make it lighthearted and fun, but maybe tap into those people that are suffering from those same things and be like, hey, it's not all bad. And I totally did the same things you did, I had the same experiences you did, but I found an outlet that helped me kind of, you know, embrace it, and instead of running and hiding from it, going, you know what, maybe if it scares me, it's a good thing. Like maybe that's the challenge. So that one most definitely. The other one I would have to say is Hello Kitty and Hello Kitty's Animation Theater, because my first job was at a Sanrio store. Like I was a huge Hello Kitty fan. My best friend growing up was Miki Takase. Hi Miki. And she would go visit her dad in Japan every once in a while, and she would bring me home these like super cool like little Twin Stars things or Hello Kitty things. So I just was totally in love with the kitty. And then when Sanrio approached ADV, dub our show. ADV, and they had auditions and they picked me. I mean, like the Japanese company picked me to voice Hello Kitty, and I had a moment. It's still on my agency website. Like I'm sure there's people that I work for in the commercial side are like, Hello Kitty doesn't have a mouth. She does in this one show, and that was me. So yeah, I get really excited about that one. Plus my dad, until Dragon Ball, my dad didn't really, he's straight from Spain, so when I do the accent, you'll understand. I've learned to preface now, because people are like, why are you making that voice? He doesn't get what I do, like at all. he was really happy when I stopped going to University of Houston for a while and studying theater to go get my cosmetology license, because I was like, it's something to fall back on. He's like, yes, people will always need the haircuts. This is good. And so then I started doing all the voiceover stuff and going to conventions, and he started going to conventions with me, and he's like, oh, okay, I don't understand. But then as soon as I got Hello Kitty, he's like, you are going to be so rich. There is Hello Kitty stuff everywhere. And I'm like, Dad, I don't get a cut. Like, it's not like somebody sells a Hello Kitty toaster and I get a cut of it. It's literally like, I'm the voice in this one thing. He's like, oh, you're the voice of the kitty. I'm like, okay. But now with Dragon Ball, and I can't go anywhere with him. And he's like, hey, to the waiter, hey, you watch the Balls of the Dragon? Dad, it's not called that, it's called Dragon. Do you watch the Dragon Balls? Dad, she plays the Bulma. Dad! And so I've had more waiters, which is really cool. I've had more waiters be like, oh my God, can you sign this? You're really Bulma? Yes. But it's Dragon Ball. It's not the Balls of the Dragon. Oh my God. But yeah, it's cute. It's super cute. But Hello Kitty was the big one. That's when he finally kind of got it, but not really, because he thought I was going to be a millionaire. Sorry, Dad. Yes.
You should be careful, because there might be a Balls of the Dragon, and you don't want that.
I don't want to be.
Yeah. Okay, I was in Balls of the Dragon.
Although if there is a Balls of the Dragon, I'm sure I'll be one of the first people they'll call. Me and Jamie Markey tend to be the first ones whenever there's like, hey, boobs. Okay, sure, why not? We just don't care. I'm like, hey, they're not my boobs, they're animated, and if my voice is on them, then that's fine.
What do you come to Detroit just for the con, or do you come any other time, or?
I've never been. I've been to Shudocon. I go like every year, and that's in Lansing.
Yeah.
And I love that one. And so I guess nobody ever invited me here because they were like, well, she's always at Shudocon, so and finally they got in touch with my agency, which was great. And so here I am. And it was weird though, because I'm so used to Shudocon that I was like, that's probably what, like a 5,000 person con? I mean, yeah. Oh my God, it's huge. It's been crazy. And it's hard because with the big ones, I tend to like the smaller ones because I have more time with people and I can sit and chat. And these are hard because you have a lot of the people that you're used to sitting and chatting with, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I gotta sign your stuff, and then you gotta go because I got like 180 people like just waiting. So it's hard too because you want to make sure everybody has that moment. I don't ever want to be one of those people that like take stuff and is like, okay, here's my name. Yeah, thanks. All right, whatever. I want to be able to like look somebody in the eye and go, what is your name? It's nice to meet you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for doing this, because especially with ADV and everything that happened, you know, back in the mid 2000s when ADV just went and all of that stuff, and I had to actually move from Houston to Dallas, and piracy was a big, huge thing, and companies were suffering. It's like I want to support, like, and thank people for supporting the industry and keeping it alive, because I would be screwed if it weren't for you guys. Like, I'd be cutting hair somewhere in Houston, Texas, and that's just not. I don't think that's what I was put here to do. So I'm very thankful of the fans, and I absolutely adore everybody. And so if I can have, even if it's just a second at a really busy con, to be like, hey, thank you for coming to see me. Oh my gosh, waiting in that line. My fiance is gross. Sorry, he's dancing at the door. Your dinner's back there. And back there behind you. There you go. Sorry. Anyway. So you got a little slice of my life right there. We're both a little crazy. These things fun. But yeah, I want to make sure I have that moment with people, and it's harder at the big con. So that's been a little like, oh crap, there's so many people here. That, and there's so many guests, and I haven't even seen half of them. Or it's been like, I saw Tara and Yuri, and it was like, oh, hey, hi, we haven't seen each other in forever. Okay, bye. Like, or with Todd, literally, I went in there and I was like, hi. He's like, hey, bye. I'm like, yeah, sorry. And Vic too, he was like, I want to meet Ron. Is Ron here? I'm like, yeah, he's outside because you've got a lot of people and I don't want to like hold up the line. But it's weird because we're all such good friends and we don't even get the chance to connect with these big cons. So, shh, quietly. I'm totally messing with you. You can eat as loud as you want. Don't. Anyway, sorry, Justin.
All right. So So we all know that you voiced so many characters, but which characters that you thought wouldn't be popular, but ended up being very, very popular among fans?
Flying Mint Bunny. Flying Mint Bunny in Hetalia. It didn't have a name. It was just a little thing that looks like a Pikachu. And it's mint colored green, right? This thing, they called it Flying Mint Bunny because they didn't know what else to call it. So it was credited as Flying Mint Bunny. And it literally was like, oh, hello, Flying Mint Bunny. Like, I think it had 3 lines. Flying Mint Bunny got t-shirts. Flying Mint Bunny had bracelets. Flying Mint Bunny had earrings, necklaces. I was like, what? Flying Mint Bunny? Like, I get more people that come up to me for Flying Mint Bunny. I play an actual character in the show called Belarus, and most people are like, oh my god, you're Flying Mint Bunny? You're Flying Mint Bunny! I'm like, it's not even its name. For all we know, it could be Boris, and we just called it Flying Mint Bunny because it's like, oh, it's a flying bunny that's mint. Oh. So that one surprised me, and it was one of those things where I was like, oh my god, I can't believe that that's what took off. I worked my butt off all these years, and all I had to do is go, I'm Flying Mint Bunny! And everybody's like, yay! All right, I'll take it. But yeah, that's one of the main ones as far as marketing and like seeing at conventions and stuff that really surprised me. Another one is Mirajane. Mirajane is such an amazing character, but I was worried with Fairy Tail because there are so many amazing characters in that show. Like, I was worried she would kind of fall to the wayside with all the, you know, cool Natsus and Urzas and Lucys and all that. No, there's Mirajane. But I'm pleasantly surprised that she's much more popular than I thought she would be, because people recognize how freaking cool she is and how strong she is. So that's been a good surprise. Not that Flying Mint Bunny wasn't a good surprise. Because yeah, I think Mirajane is awesome, and I'm glad that people see that in her, and it's not just me going, she's awesome, you guys, I swear, she's totally awesome. Like, people recognize it, and that's a good thing. Those are my 2.
So when it comes to going to a convention and throwing a panel or having autographs, what would you say is your favorite type of panel to run?
It depends. Like, I like the question and answer panels because it's the time when fans get to ask whatever is on their minds, and I'm not one of those people that's like, it must be about acting and it must be about shows. Like, you can ask me whatever you want. If you want to know what kind of cheese, I can't eat cheese anymore.
It's literally what Ian brought up yesterday.
Really? Yeah.
Pizza toppings.
See, I mean, like, that's the thing is that, like, we're
Like
just...
cheese specifically.
Yeah, we're just such normal people that it's like, to me, it's more cool for people to see that we are normal people, because I think a lot of times, especially with Seiyu being so popular in Japan and they're pop stars and all that, so I think a lot of people tend to think, oh, voice actors, they must be rich and famous and drive fancy cars, and it's like, no, I have a Honda. And I can't eat gluten or cheese or dairy or eggs. My life is weird. No, but like, it's nice to be able to have moments with people and be like, look, we're just normal people. We're not superstars or anything like that. And then also Jamie and I there's certain cons that let me get away with murder. One of them being Animate Miami and all the cons out in Florida. Thank you, Mike Broder. Where I can go, hey, I have this idea for this panel. And he'll be like, yeah, sure, whatever, you can do that. So like, we went to Animate Florida about a month ago. And Jamie and I were like, can we do a panty and stocking PJ party? He's like, yeah, sure. He's like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't even know yet, but it sounds like fun. He's like, yeah. So we showed up and he got us a DJ. So it was me and Jamie and Kigurumis and a whole bunch of people. And we had a DJ and we were passing out candy, and we would have like question and answer, and then we'd have a dance break and like put on some music and just act stupid. And then we had a twerking contest, and then we would have another like talk, and then we would, you know, dance break. And it was super, super, super fun. And it was totally just me and Jamie being ourselves and hanging out with a bunch of folks. And that to me those are the panels that are the most fun, when you can just kind of be yourself and hang out with folks and show you guys that like, we're just normal people that have really cool jobs. That's all it is. Who's next? Yes.
All right. Speaking of your convention experiences, obviously you're a con veteran. It sounded like weird.
No, I am. I've been going to the con since 2001.
So, fans.
Yes.
Fans often have a lot of weird requests. What's the weirdest encounter that you've ever experienced with a fan?
Let me preface this by saying I love all of you. You know, it's calmed down. Now you get a lot of of yelling. There's a lot of yelling these days, a lot of, which always weirds me out because I'm like, oh my God, it's just me. It's just me. Oh, you're yelling because it's me. Oh God, I don't know what to do. Or the crying, I don't know what to do with that. Like my first response is when somebody came up to me and they were crying, all I could think of is when I was a kid and I would watch the Michael Jackson videos and everybody's like crying because it's Michael Jackson. So this little girl came up to me and she started crying and I'm like, I'm not Michael Jackson. She didn't even know who Michael Jackson was, I'm sure. She's like, sorry, that's all I could think of. So that's a little different because I don't know what to do with that. I just hug people normally. I'm like, it's okay. But back in the day, I got some really strange requests. I was in England one time, and I had these two guys come up to me, and they just dropped their pants. And they had boxer shorts on, but they were like, hey, will you sign our boxer shorts? I was like, okay. So that was different. There was a Japanese rock band who, he was in the room, one of the guys was in the room next door, and he had this gaggle of girls that like he would sit in the hallway and talk to, and I'd have to like kind of step over people to get to my room. And at one point he's like, you join? I was like, no, I'm good, thank you, to go to my room, night night. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's so many experiences. Greg Ayers and I used to do horrible things. There's this band, a visual K band, I don't even know if they're still around, but their name was Dual Jewel. And Dual Jewel was a lot of fun because we used to mess with them all the time and then they would mess with us. And at 1 year at Akon, I think, Dual Jewel, we convinced them that hot dogs were called cow tubes. And so, because all they would eat was hot dogs and apple juice. That's all they wanted ever when they would go in the green room. And they're like, apple juice. And so we were like, you know, it'd be funny. So then we went into the green room one time and we're sitting there and they're like, cow tubes. And they were like, what are they saying? Oh my God, we cannot embarrass ourselves in front of this rock band. Could you repeat that? Cow tube. Let's bring the translator over. And so like explaining, and Greg and I are like giggling, and then they realize what happens and they're like, ho 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 ho. And then later on we shared a bottle of Onigoroshi and it was all good. But things like that are like, there was a band called Camino, and I remember going out to dinner one night and we taught them how to throw spitballs, because apparently that's incredibly rude in Japan and you don't teach people how to do that, but we taught them how to spit spitballs and they spent the entire night spitting spitballs at other guests, and we were like, I've started food fights. It's funny that Fred Gallagher's here and I haven't been able to say hi to him. He probably doesn't like me very much because we had a food fight way back when at Akon, and it was Scott McNeil and I, and he was trying to claim my table for Canada and I wasn't gonna let that happen. So we ended up throwing those little butter balls that are frozen that the hotels serve, and we ended up having a fight and everybody got involved. Mike McFarland like stole a waiter's tray and was using it as a shield. People are throwing things and poor Fred Gallagher's in the middle just like, ooh. So there's some brilliant memories, but yeah, some really weird ones. Fans overall have been really, really cool though. There's only been like 1 or 2 times. I did have, you know, very early on an older gentleman asked me if I wanted to go to his room and see his Gundam, which I was like, no, thank you. Things like that. But overall, fandom's been awesome. You have more weird experiences with the other guests, I feel like. Yes.
All right. So my question is also related to conventions.
Yes.
So I know a lot of voice actors don't like it when fans ask how to become a voice actor. So I'd like to know your perspective of people who continuously ask you that question, or people who think that getting into the voice acting industry is easy.
That's my only concern, is like, I don't mind somebody asking me like how to be a voice actor. What I mind is when I tell somebody how to be a voice actor and they go, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to try my luck on the internet. And I'm like, all right, thanks for wasting my time and good luck. So I don't mind answering the question, but like I tell people, I'm like, you have to be an actor. And I know that there's a small handful of people, you know, that aren't actors, that didn't study for years or whatever, but that's a very small handful of people. For the most part, everybody is a trained actor or can, and you can see it in the trends, in the casting trends. Somebody like Justin Briner, who is a trained actor, is doing incredibly well because he's a trained actor. He knows what he's doing. So trying to explain to people like, hey, take classes, get involved with your local theater companies. If getting on stage scares the bejesus out of you, that's probably, there's a reason you need to tap into that and figure that out, because guess what? Being in a booth is sometimes more intimidating than being on stage in front of 100 people, because you've only got 2 people and they're judging you harshly. You know what I mean? So I try to be really good about that information, and whenever someone asks, I try to be real open about it. But what bothers me the most is when people are like, okay, well, that's great, but I don't want to do that. It's like, okay, well, thanks, but I tried to give you the information you need. So that's the only time that I'm like, okay. You can totally just say it if you need to.
Oh, I don't want to
No, you're good.
I just want to let you guys know real quick that we're at 3:35 right now.
Huh? Nothing till 9:30? Wow, you've got like the whole afternoon to yourself.
I got 2 other guys working for me.
That's
We
smart.
split it up.
Smart. Well, your question's next.
My question is, going from a Q&A kind of aspect, what is one question you've never been asked that you've had a perfect answer for?
I don't know if there's a question I've never been asked. Ron did ask a question. Was it Dragon Con? Dragon Con, he asked a question that made everybody on the panel think. It was me and Ian and Jamie, Markey, and Bo Billingsley. And Ron was like, who were the 3 people that most influenced your career? And we were all like, this is not how do I become a voice actor. This is not how did it feel to voice Mirajane. I don't know what to do with this. But it was awesome because it did make us think. And for me, those 3 people are Eugene Kreisner, who was, I was in theater. I was a ballerina growing up, and so I hurt my knees at about 12, which kind of ruined my whole career plans to be a ballerina. So I was like, well, what else can I do that was still on the stage and still performing, because I loved performing. And I kind of moved into theater when I was in middle school. And in middle school, my first year there, we had this teacher that like just didn't dig me, didn't give me a chance, thought I was a weirdo kid. And so I was just kind of in the background for a lot of that. And I was this close to quitting, because I was like, this is obviously not my thing. This is not my jam. And then Eugene Kreisner came in my 7th grade year, and I remember auditioning for her, and she's like, you've never gotten like a lead role? I was like, I've never even had a speaking role. And she cast me as Lucy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and that was like my first like falling in love with the theater and being like, oh my God, I can do this. And she's like, you can do this, and you're really good at it, and you should do this. So she totally, like if it hadn't been for Eugene, I probably wouldn't be an actor right now. Other than Eugene, Dr. Sidney Berger was my professor at the University of Houston, along with Edward Albee. Both of them have now passed, but both of them were very integral as both a writer and an actor. I learned a lot from the 2 of them. I can't even remember who the 3rd person was that I said. Probably my mom. My mom's my best cheerleader. She's the one that would like go to every performance I've ever done and sit in the front row. Although I did, if with the anime stuff, she's still confused. Like I took her to the D.N.Angel premiere, and she's like, oh, you were so good as that little bitty girl. And I'm like, Mom, I was the badass. I was the one that talked like this. She goes, that was you? I was like, you're my mom. You're supposed to know these things. But yeah, so questions like that, it's always neat, but at the same time, we get into a role, because it's like you hear the same questions a lot. But I like when people shake it up like that, because honestly, there's so many videos on YouTube. Like if you want to see me talk about what it's like to be Mirajane or Tomoko or insert character here, that stuff's all on YouTube. But when you guys ask, the press is always good about asking interesting questions, and when you get questions like that, that makes a huge difference. Yes?
Who in your industry do you think is underappreciated?
Oh,
It doesn't have to be a voice actor either.
There's so many people that I feel like are underappreciated. I feel like the directors as a whole are underappreciated. I feel like if people knew what an ADR director does and how much of the show lies in their hands, and the choices and the voices and everything is up to them, I feel like people would give them a lot more respect. Somebody like Chris Bevins, or Mike McFarland, or Tyler Walker, Colleen Klinkenbeard, Caitlin Glass, all these people who not only can cast a show and watch the whole show and understand the meaning and what's going on, but also tell an actor, like, this is how you're feeling, and I know you haven't seen what's led up to this, but let me explain what's happening. Give you everything that you need to fill out that performance without having actually seen everything leading up to that point. That's tough. That's a lot of hard work, and they do it brilliantly and act like it's no big deal. And even Funimation sometimes is like, oh, you know, the director, and I'm like, those people are important and they do a lot of really, really hard work, and they're brilliant, and I really wish that they got more love and respect. The engineers too. Anytime somebody who has never been around that medium comes in and watches a session, they watch the engineer clickety click 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 move 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 do 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 do, and they're like, oh my God, it's like magic. And it is, it's totally magic. None of us know what it is that they do, but what they do is so important to everything. You know, they set up filters, so if it sounds like you're muffled here, they have to decide, okay, well, do I need to put my mouth in front of my face, or do I need to like add a filter later? They do all the pre-editing for like mixing and stuff like that. So there's a lot of the behind the scenes jobs that I feel like don't get the credit that they deserve. Yeah, those are the main two, I'd say. There's a lot of actors too, but that would take me forever. I would go on a long list. Yes?
What responsibilities and duties do you enjoy at Funimation?
I love ADR adapting. I've been doing that since I started at ADB with a show called D.N.Angel. And I wrote it under a pseudonym because I was really scared that I was going to suck at writing. And I remember we had really, really, sorry whoever wrote it, bad scripts. And so I was talking to David Williams, the director, and I was like, hey, whatever I do can't be any worse than what you've got here. And if you'll teach me as I go along, I promise you, like, I can learn how to do this. And so I really, you know, I'm thankful that David gave me that opportunity, and he would tell me, okay, everything's a little too short, or you're using this word too much, maybe you need to pay more attention. But I really do enjoy the adapting. It's hard, and a lot of times actors especially be like, oh, I can totally do that. I'm so gonna do that. They get their first script, they get halfway through, and I get a phone call of, oh my God, this is awful. Like, this is hard. And it's like, did you think it was gonna be easy? Like, it's super hard, but it's very rewarding because to me, it's like a giant puzzle. You have the video, you have your translation that is very flat and has no characterization. And it's your job to, number one, make it sound like a character. Number two, make it sound like, you know, English, colloquial English, like we talk and not like, I am a translation. And then you also have to put that characterization back in. So to me, that's really fun. I enjoy directing, but not as much as I enjoy the adapting. So that's my favorite part of the background. Plus it's kind of cool as an actor because not so much anymore, but back in the day, I would be able to, you know, write a show like Oron and then go in and audition and know exactly how that laugh was supposed to go. That instead of going in and going like, ha, 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 would just come out and Caitlin Glass looks at you with giant eyes and goes, whoa. I'm like, yeah, I cheated. She didn't know that. Now she does. Sorry, Caitlin. Yes.
Now, every actor prepares for a role differently. How do you get set before a session?
Well, I have a phone app, which is called Vocal Warm-Up. It sounds really exciting. It's literally just a microphone, and people are always like, oh, so what's that app you use? I'm like, Vocal Warm-Up. But I love it because it lets you pick the range, so you can actually look at the scale and decide like how low you want to go, how high you want to go, and it's everything from like, I do lip trills, which is the because believe it or not, you have to warm up your lips because if you don't do that, you will bite them a lot. It's very painful. And then I do scales, things like that. And then depending on the character, sometimes I'll sing to the radio in the character's voice just to kind of get used to it. The other day I found something that helps immensely for Moa from Show by Rock, which I didn't realize she's really, really high pitched. And I started singing everything on the radio like an octave up. So I was like singing way up here, Funimation. And then I went into Funimation and I was like doing my pew-pew, and I was like, oh my God, this is so easy. I need to do this every time. So we're still kind of learning even as we go along. But yeah, singing is a big, huge deal. And that's another thing I tell people who want to be actors or voice actors. I'm like, improvisation and any kind of singing or music classes will help you immensely because you wouldn't believe how much, well, first of all, I've had to sing in more anime than I would care to list. And two, it also helps with breath control and things like that. So a lot of, yeah, vocal warm-up. Yay. Yes.
Other than Dragon Ball Z Super, what project that you can talk about that's coming out are you most excited about?
Okay, I just was announced as Easy in Drifters. That's super exciting. We don't know a whole lot about her yet, and my hair kind of matches her, and I didn't mean to do it as an homage. I just left my dye in too long. But I'm super excited about that. Drifters is basically about actual characters from history kind of moving through time and working together, and very, very interesting premise. So I'm super excited about Easy. Dragon Ball Super. I play Hitomi Hokuto in Keijo. I also do the dub scripts for that as well, and that's been a lot of fun. When they approached me and they're like, hey, we're gonna give you this show where, okay, so here's the premise. It's basically these girls who are fighting, kind of like wrestling, and they do it on the water, on these little floating things, and they can only knock each other off using their boobs and their butts. Okay, sweet. Last thing I wrote was Tokyo Ghoul. This will be a complete change of pace. So it's been fun, and playing the instructors, Cliff has been cute, and he cast Jamie Markey and I as different instructors. So he's got like the new crop of voice actors playing the young girls, and then us yelling at them and telling them what to do, which is a lot of fun. What else can I talk about that I'm working on? Show by Rock 2, of course, we've got season 2 is going on right now.
And Vic's on that one as well.
Yes, Vic and Ian. Is Todd in there? Todd, I don't think Todd's in there yet, but I'm sure he will be at some point. And that show is absolutely adorable, and it's one that's family friendly. So finally now when people go, what can my kids watch? Show by Rock. Yay. That's all I can think of off the top of my head that I can talk about. And then Super, and yeah, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but I can't talk about it. Yeah. Who else?
All right. So this question is going to be about broadcast dubbing.
Yes.
So broadcast dubbing is started about a while ago, and I just wanted to know what kind of feedback did you get from fans, and what do you think personally, as of right now, about the broadcast dubs?
We've gotten great feedback. I think if anything, people are really excited, you know, that we're getting anime out so fast. When I started, it took us 1.5 to 2 years to get a disc out. I mean, like, that's just how long it took. Whereas now, I mean, some of those shows are 2 weeks to the day when it airs in Japan. So that's been really great. So fandom has been really great about it. With us, I think it's been kind of stressful, but at the same time now we're kind of learning how to do it, and it's getting easier as we go along. This particular, like the 2-week schedule is really hard because like I'm at a convention. My 2 days to write Keijo are Saturday, Sunday. So when I'm not with you guys, I get to run up to my room and write Keijo. Sorry, Cliff, if this episode is off. But yeah, it's been fun, but it is very stressful. So I know our time's up. Does anybody have any last requests?
Well, Ian Sinclair, we talked to him yesterday.
Yes.
And he talked a lot about how he steals a lot of stuff from other voice actors and things like that. Do you kind of follow the same policy a little bit?
Oh, totally. I tend to steal from just the general public.
Oh, okay.
Like, if I meet somebody who has a really interesting voice, Ron can tell you, I'll try to mimic it. Like, there's like Suyu from My Hero Academia is right here, but I met a lady that had a cold and sounded almost like that. And I'm like, I need to learn how to do that. I need to learn how to do that. He's also really good about pushing me. Like, we've been working on my old man voice because he's determined that I'm going to play an old man. And I recently was just cast in a show, and I can't say too much, but I actually play 2 old ladies. So you never know where I'm going to pop up, guys.
Can't sample your old lady right now?
No, I'm gonna surprise you. I'm gonna let it surprise you because most of the people don't even know it's me. Like he said, several people listen to it and they're like, "Who is that?" Oh my God, that's Monica. But yeah, when it comes out, I will definitely be like, "I'm the old ladies. What up?" I'm super stoked. Well, thank you guys so much. Y'all have been awesome. I'm gonna go talk about ADR script adapting now. Yay! No problem. You guys have been awesome. Thanks for having me.